Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh my goodness. Good morning. Oh, look, we've already got people. Oh, look. Gail. Good morning, Gail. Good morning, Cindy. Cindy's here. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, Barb. This one's for you. Yes, it is. Good morning. Today's topic was actually suggested by Barb. Going to talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly of multi-layer kiss cutting on pressure sensitive. I never remember what the A stands for. Applique, Twill. All right. Oh, Diane. Good morning. Oh, good morning. Diane's here. Good morning. Good morning. Frank. Frank. I posted today's broadcast on the right day at the right time. Yay! I know that was terrible last week. I'm sorry. Um, so again, we're not doing so much embroidery work. We're doing laser work today. Now I have cats today. Um, just so you know, even though we're working specifically with laser cutting today, this technique, and of course you'll want to do testing, this technique can be applied to your at-home die cutter, your Cricut, your Silhouette, your Juliet. Um, you can also cut this out one layer at a time and manually stick them together. Uh, what else is there? If you're going to apply this to a garment after it's all done, you're going to want to bring your cut file, your cut document into your embroidery digitizing software so that you can add those borders. But today, all we're going to do is talk about actually getting this stuff cut. Yeah. So, Barb, our friend Barb here, made a request a couple weeks ago about doing this project. So it took a couple of weeks because I needed to order the pressure sensitive twill, which I did. I ordered 3 colors. I know Barb was only talking about doing 2 layers, but I did 3 layers because, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't sleep well last night. Anyway, so I did 3 layers, and just keep in mind that if you only need 2 layers, well, obviously you'll build your cut file for 2 layers. Okay, so let me show you this. Let me show you this first video. This not first video, but this first. Let's see. Yeah. So I bought 3 yards of this 12. I bought 1 yard in red, 1 yard in white, 1 yard in blue. Catch the theme: red, white, and blue. Let's see. Oh, Cindy says, when I did tackle twill, if it was 2 layers, kiss cut, I used a zigzag stitch. If only 1 layer, the satin stitch to give it a 2-color look. Oh, that's a smart cookie. Good job. Do, do, do. Where am I? Why am I not here? There I am. So, anyways, um, of those 3 yards, I layered them. I I cut off like a 4 or 5 inch swatch, and then I layered them together to put on the laser cutter for all this testing. I need to let you know that I did use all 3 layers of this fabric of the twill in my testing. And that's because, like I said, we're going to cover the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's because there was one bit, and that we'll talk about. Um, there was one bit that I did not care for, and I was trying to find a way around that. Yes, Barb, for the record, my laser is an X-Tool S1 40-watt laser. And that is what I was testing with. All of my settings up and down, more power, less speed, more power. Um, that's what I was going for. Now, I want to show you. I know I flashed this one. Oops. Oh, that's right, Barb. You said you had the same laser. You got it not too long ago, if I recall. Oh, Cindy, you're so sweet. Um, yeah, I just ordered it, because that's what I do. But thank you. I'll remember that for the next one. Okay, so I want to show you what do I want to show you? Let's see. Nope, nope. Da da da. PSH will. Yes, Barb, that is correct. Why can't I get up there with you? There I am. All right. So, wasn't really sure where to start with this project. So I did. Hey, hey, Doug, good morning. Scott, are you here too? There you are. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Doug. We're just getting started with this. Of course, it would help if I'd stop clicking on everything. So, not knowing exactly uh, what settings I needed, I wanted to start someplace. Obviously, I need settings to cut through one layer, two layers, and three layers. So what I did was I created a layer set and did a test cut, did a grid, um, which can be set up in your Creative Space Xtool Creative Space software. And obviously, my goal was to cut through one, two, and three layers. I don't want blue. So one, two, and three layers. Um, this, as ugly as it is, gave me some settings on where to start. So from there, let's see if we can do this. This piece right here and this piece down here. What am I doing here? Here. This piece, once I had this, it gave me some start points. And then I moved on to this. Again, it was set in the red, white, and blue layering. And my goal with that was to cut one layer at a time. And ultimately, and of course, we want clean cuts. We want clean cuts. This is my initial setting for that first layer. And then I had such difficulty. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but diode does not like to cut through white fabric. It does not like to cut through white. And that's because the white reflects light. That's where the color white comes from. It is the lack of light absorption. It reflects all light. And that's what diode is. Diode is a blue light. So the white just wants to not do anything with it. So by the time I got here, I was really frustrated trying to figure out how to cut through this white. So I set it aside. And then I got to thinking, okay, so the white is bare. That's when I changed, and I used a strip of red, white, blue layered. So I had to go get another strip of fabric. And that time I decided to put white on the bottom. I knew I could cut through white. I had done that before in my previous work with cutting patch fabric. You guys might remember that. And Barb, that's exactly right. Blue can reflect depending on the blue color. But see, if we're trying to laser cut through white, white does not absorb any color at all. So it throws that blue back out. We needed to find a way to cut with a blue light through the white fabric. So I laid out the next test swatch in a different layout. I put the white on the bottom, white, blue, red, and that actually cut through. That actually cut through very nicely. One thing that I'm not showing here that I probably should have, when I pulled this piece, and you can't see what I'm doing, can you? No, you can't. When I pulled this piece off the laser, all three of those layers were there. I had a full layer covering of red, a full covering of blue, and I pulled off each one in turn. But even with those three layers, this white cut through. Thank you, Gail. Doug, yes, a good reason to get a CO2 laser, but not everybody has a budget for a CO2 laser. And not everybody wants to make that financial commitment, not knowing if it was going to do what I wanted or not. Okay, not everybody would be me. I did not want to make uh, that financial commitment to a piece of equipment I may or may not use, but maybe twice a year. So I went with the diode laser because it is budget friendly. Oh, and here's the other thing with the CO2. I didn't want to have to fuss with all kinds of mirrors and focusing and um, all of all of that crazy stuff. And Barb, that's awesome that you're going to go with a P2S in the next couple of months. You'll have to come back and show us what you get done with that. Doug, are you asking what the space is of my S1? It is a cutting space of, I want to say 12 by 20, less with the 40 watt, but more with the 20. Okay. So, all right. So, so yes, I did cut through three layers and successfully cut through this white. Okay. Where's my next slide? Doo, doo, doo. Yeah, just some more of the debris, some more, and my notes. You see my notes here. So at this point, I was not getting the clean cuts I wanted. So at this point, I walked away because, sometimes you just have to do that. You have to walk away. And that's exactly what I did. I walked away. And then, of course, you go to bed and you're, hey, Letty, good morning. Good morning, Letty. And and yes, Cindy, you can. Cindy wants to know if you can cut the twill using your Romeo Juliet. Yes, you can cut the twill using any of your home your home die cutters. You can uh, you can use your Silhouette, your Cricut, and your Romeo Juliet. Sorry, I got caught up in comments here. Um, Frankie says he worked with the industrial CO2s. Expensive when you start changing mirrors. Yeah. See, and I didn't want any of that. Not to mention that the tube, you have to have this whole cooling system. Um, you have to have this whole cooling system with a CO2, which just takes up more room. And I only had space about 36 wide, 20 deep. So, I did not have a lot of space for all these extra pieces that go with it. It probably would be Cindy. Cindy says that using the Cricut, using the die cutters would be less trouble, like cutting the white. But again, you need to, if you're going to do a kiss cut, you need to test everything to see if it's working. You need to make each cut in turn to get it to work. And I know that you may need to also do a blade change. There are 3 standard blades that go with those machines, and you need to determine which one is best for fabric. And did I see Evelyn came in? Evelyn in the house. Good morning. So, so I was having trouble cutting. I was having trouble getting good, clean cuts. So I walked away. Walked away, went to bed, started thinking about it, stopped thinking about it. And I remembered something that Joe Kramer, I know I've mentioned his name before. Um, Joe said that there is nothing in the rule book that says you have to cut fabric using one pass. He said you'll get a better, cleaner cut if you use multiple passes at different um, at different powers and speeds. So that was the next thing we did. Let's see, let me catch up here. All right. Cindy's saying that when she used to order her tackle twill, I'm assuming she's meaning that they used to order it pre-cut, and they, meaning the vendor that she was ordering from, used a water jet laser cutting, a water jet cutting um, with fabric in, and maybe it's because the power of the water and the stream is narrow and very sharp. Um, it would not affect the fabric, but fabric would your fabric come with wet edges? That would be a concern. Okay, so the next day I went back, made a new swatch, and started cutting. And this is one of several pieces that I did. The other thing was I was having trouble cutting through this carrier sheet, you know. And then I realized I don't need to cut through the carrier sheet. I don't need to cut through the carrier sheet because the carrier sheet is not going to be attached to the garment. All right. So did not have to worry about the carrier sheet. Put that aside. Okay. So here's the ugly part of this. You ready, Barb? And I'm going to give you the settings that I ultimately used because it'll give you a place to start. Think of the laser, the beam of the laser cutting through the fabric like your embroidery machine sewing a design. When your embroidery machine comes to a corner or a turn or a bend, it slows down just that little bit, just to make that transition from the straight line to the rounded line, to the point, and then down again. All right. Your embroidery machine does that. The laser does that. The only problem, and this is what I was testing and testing and testing, was to try to get past this. The biggest issue I had was that every point that the laser had to make a transition, and I'm going to pull all this off until we get to the white because the white will show it best. Every point we got to a transition, the laser slowed down so much. It was still lasering. It was still at full power. The laser cut through because it was slow. It was, virtually stopped at that point for even a millisecond, and it burned all the way through all 3 layers. And obviously, it's not what we wanted. Okay? And no matter how hard I tried, I could not get it to not do that. And it's probably not going to be a real issue if you're going to come along and do a border stitch over it. You're probably never going to see it, and it's not going to fall apart. Um, Scott Scott says that some softwares have a corner power setting option. I'm assuming that means that it will adjust the power um, when it reaches a point that it's turning like that. Now, I was using Xtool's software for all of this. Very simple, very easy to use. One of the things that I did not care, Cindy, I'm not so sure that it'd be certain fonts. I'm going to say it's going to be all of them because all of them are going to have a straight line and then a transition to make a different letter or to make a different line. And you're going to find that with everything you're cutting. And Frank, I'm going to look into this. So going back to the software, I used the Xtool Creative Space software for this because, again, we're talking about using the Xtool laser. Might as well do all of this with the Xtool laser software, which comes with, especially true with a script font. Yes, Cindy, especially true with a script font. With this, I did not want to advocate that you had to buy a new software to do this. You don't. Uh, Doug saying he would think that higher end software or higher end lasers would not have this issue. I wouldn't know, Doug. I don't have a higher end laser because, again, I wanted something that was home friendly, budget friendly, and still did a job. And it does. It does do the job. Okay, so going back to the software, there is one other thing that I don't care for about the software is is and let me get that open. Oh, here. Where'd it go? There it is. These are my settings. Um, Good question. Let's go back. We're going to talk about Lightburn in just a moment. Frankie says there is also a trick in the programming for sharp corners, i.e., making them really square. And Evelyn's asking which high end lasers. Doug, I think that question's directed to you. Which high end lasers? Okay, so here's a screenshot of my settings. Um, if you look, this center cut is going through 2 layers of fabric. And I actually wanted to make this 2 cuts at different power and strength. Um, One of the cuts was at 35% power with a speed of 95 millimeters per second. And the second cut was at 30% power with 85 millimeters per second. And I did that because I did not want one cut was not enough to get through the blue, and 2 full cuts would have been too much, would have gone through the white. So I wanted different cuts, different settings. And with the Xtool software, I really wanted the center to cut first, just like with embroidery. I wanted to go center out. The center, the top layer, and then I wanted to cut the 2 middle layer settings, and then I wanted to cut the red layer, which was my final cut. Change the cut order. The only way you can change the cut order in this software is to ignore the cuts you do not want to cut first. So that means I would have to ignore all of these 4 cuts to cut the blue, my blue line, my blue power setting. Then I would have to come back and ignore the blue setting and open up the green setting and come back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I know that in Lightburn, and I do have Lightburn, I know in Lightburn, I can set these up, I can put all my settings in place, and then use a function that will allow me to uh, position each cut line to the position I want it to cut in. So in this case, the blue would be at the top, the green and yellow would be under the blue, and the reds would be on the bottom. I am going to, so that's me advocating for Lightburn. It is a very good software. It does a lot of great things. I have Lightburn because remember I uh, added a camera system to my S1. I still do not want to purchase a CO2. I still do not want to change laser engraving machines to anything else. For what I do, I'm very happy with my S1. I wasn't when I first started because of the whole camera thing, but yes, now I'm very happy with it, very satisfied. I'm going to go back here and pick up some messages. Doug's still advocating his CO2. And again, I'm working more on the budget. CO2 is a great system, um, but it's not what I have, so it's not what I can test, and it's not what I can present. I would let Doug. Did you say you have a CO2? Maybe we should get you on the coffee and conversation, and you can show us what the CO2 does. Maybe you'll change my mind. Let's see. Then there's a conversation between Barb and Doug about cutting leather. Doug says he uses his scan and cut to um, cut wallet interiors, and he says he has a clicker press to cut his heavier leathers. And Doug wanted to know if I got that camera working. Yes, I did, and I believe I did a video on it. Look back in the history. I'm very happy with this. It was a third party camera. I added it to my laser. Very happy with it. Uh, Doug says he doesn't have a CO2 yet. Barb, Brian, I agree. Barb also has the same camera system that she added to her CO2. Um, I will, for those of you that might be interested, I will uh, place a link in my presentation, in my live comments, my description information on YouTube, and it's awesome. Thank you, Letty. I agree. And Letty says that she thinks what I bought is great for what I need, and so do I. I bought it initially to cut patches that were already embroidered. Cut after stitch patches, and with some modifications and a lot of work and a lot of testing, I have been able to do that. I also I also have been using. I used it a lot for Christmas presents. I'm making right now. I'm currently making a multifunctional display system using basswood. Um, so yeah, for what I'm doing, I'm very happy with the S1. And let's see. Yeah. So Doug says right now he can't justify spending money only to cut twill. That would be an expansion of my business. Yep, it would be, which is why I went with the diode, the S1 diode, 40-watt uh, laser cutter. Yeah. Uh, all right. So, do you guys want me to pop up those settings again? Barb, did you want to see those settings again? And those are the settings. Just so you know, the settings are a start place for you. You're going to want to do your own testing because there are different factors. Just like with an embroidery machine, we could have the same two exact models. They could have been produced the same week, but there's going to be minute differences. Maybe my settings are based on the fact that I have a little bit of lint in my thread path and you don't. So that's going to change the way a stitch is going to happen. Maybe my laser is a little bit dirtier, maybe, though I did just clean it. But I've been doing a lot of wood. Um, so maybe uh, there's a slight difference in how my laser is cutting to how your laser is going to cut it. One other thing, Barb, I did use the air assist, and I also have an external um, fan. in my what is that? My tubing, that goes to the window. Thank you, Cindy. Oh, what did Letty say? I bought a CO2 100, but truly, you do not need a CO2 for patches. I didn't think so either, Letty. Thank you. I looked at the 30-inch Graph Tech to cut 12 spendy. Yeah, especially, in my world, I don't do a lot of production patches. But when I do patches, um, I wanted to find a way that I did not have to cut everything afterwards, manually cut with scissors. Because, that if you're cutting 100 patches, that gets to be a lot of time. And that's time that you could be doing something else. So that's what put me on this path. But again, I don't do it often enough to justify $10,000 for a laser cutter that would only be used maybe twice a year. Um, so I went with the budget friendly, home designed, non commercial laser cutter. All right. So with that, we're a little bit long here. So with that, I'm going to put Brian's information for that third party um, camera set up for the S1. And you guys have a great weekend. And you are very welcome, Barb. Um, Again, just like Barb, if there's anything specific that you want to see, let me know. You can reach me at quick2stitch.com or quick2stitch at gmail.com. All right, let's find my end and say goodbye. Bye. That fun? Do you have more questions? Do you want to learn something new? Join me at quick2stitch.com for coffee and conversation, and we'll talk about it. Embroidery machines, designs, and